Chosen one, that heavy, unexplained pressure on your chest right now is not anxiety. It is a spiritual radar going off. Listen closely to my voice, because Archangel Michael has forcefully intercepted your timeline today. You are sitting there right now, perhaps in a quiet room, or staring blankly in your car with the engine off, listening to the silence before you have to go inside. You feel entirely drained. You are dreading having to put the mask back on. You have a thought you have not dared to speak out loud. Lord, why do I have to save everyone else while I am completely drowning? They have tried to convince you that this constant exhaustion, the heavy brain fog, and the intense feeling of not belonging are just normal signs of stress or depression. That is a lie straight from the Matrix. The enemy is attacking your physical energy because they are terrified of what is locked inside your DNA. You are carrying a weapon not of this world, a frequency no human in your bloodline has ever possessed, and the unseen realm is scrambling to keep it dormant. Do not move your hands. Do not type anything. Just let your physical shoulders drop and silently decree in your own spirit right now, I am ready to awaken. Mentally anchor yourself to this transmission, because Heaven's top commander is about to show you how to unsheath the weapon you were born with. I need you to stay with me until the very final second of this message. Do not let the distractions of your environment pull you away. By the end of this transmission, you are going to understand exactly what this dormant weapon is and how the modern world has been specifically designed to keep it suppressed. I am going to reveal a precise 7-minute activation protocol that bypasses the noise, along with the absolute boundary system you must build to protect your frequency. If you leave early, you will only know you are in a war without ever receiving the exact ammunition to win it. So lock your focus in right now. 3 days ago, there was a meeting in the spiritual realm concerning you. It was not a meeting of celebration. The enemy stood before the throne and made a specific, calculated demand regarding your life. They did not ask to destroy you because they know they cannot cross that line. The blood protects you from destruction. Instead, they asked for permission to exhaust you. They asked for permission to flood your daily life with minor inconveniences, financial hiccups, heavy conversations, and emotional vampires. Have you noticed how incredibly thick the air has felt lately? Have you noticed how your short-term memory seems to slip, or how a strange, heavy brain fog rolls in exactly when you try to focus on your purpose or read the word? That is not you getting older. That is not you losing your edge. That is a highly sophisticated frequency jamming tactic. The Apostle Paul warned us about this specific type of warfare in Ephesians chapter 6 verse 12, when he said, "We do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers." But the English translation completely misses the raw violence of what Paul was actually saying. The Greek word used for wrestle in that text is pale. Pale does not mean a distant firefight. It does not mean a strategic battle of words from across a room. In ancient Greece, pale was a brutal form of close quarters, hand-to-hand combat where the singular goal was to pin your opponent to the ground by their neck until they could no longer breathe. It was suffocating. It was intimate. It was entirely physical. That is exactly why your spiritual attacks feel so incredibly heavy on your physical body. That is why your neck aches, your shoulders are tight, and your breathing gets shallow for no logical reason. The enemy is not attacking you from a distance with arrows. They are trying to pin your frequency down. They are trying to suffocate your spiritual breathing so you cannot rise up. But why are they so desperate to keep you pinned down right now? Archangel Michael stepped into that heavenly meeting 3 days ago and pointed directly at you. He pointed to the exact weapon they are trying to stop you from discovering. You think this exhaustion is just because you are supposed to carry the weight of everyone around you? You think God is just testing your patience and your ability to sacrifice your own happiness for others? That is exactly what the enemy wants you to believe. But there is a much crueler truth hiding beneath this season of suffering. and what is actually being targeted inside of you is going to change everything you thought you knew about your identity. For years, you have been told that your highest calling is to be the unbreakable pillar for everyone else around you. I want you to mentally scan the last 5 to 10 years of your life right now. Whenever a crisis hit your family, who was the one expected to drop everything and fix it? Whenever a friend was falling apart, whose shoulder did they cry on? You have been the emotional paramedic for your entire bloodline. You have answered the phone at 2 in the morning when you were already running on fumes. You have handed over money you desperately needed for your own survival, just to keep someone else afloat. And when you were the one bleeding, when you were the one falling apart, you patched yourself up in absolute silence because you did not want to be a burden to anyone else. There is a voice in your head, a raw, agonizing, unfiltered whisper that echoes in the dark when you are finally alone. It screams, "I give, and I give, and I give. But who is going to pour back into me? If I stop holding the sky up, the sky is going to fall on everyone I love." You have watched people take your wisdom, drain your energy, absorb your light, and then walk away without even looking back to see if you are okay. When your phone vibrates, your stomach immediately drops, your throat tightens, and a wave of dread washes over you because you already know someone needs something from you again. You are physically present in the room, but inside you are running a constant triage center for other people's trauma. You have typed out messages establishing a boundary, stared at the screen for 10 minutes, and then deleted every single word and replied, "I am fine, how can I help?" just to keep the peace. And through all of this suffering, you kept going. You kept forgiving people who never apologized to you. You kept showing up for people who never showed up for you. Why? Because you believed, deep in the core of your spirit, that this was your ultimate divine test. You believed God was testing your loyalty. You believed He was testing your capacity to sacrifice your own desires for the greater good. You looked at the biblical pattern of the great leaders who suffered in isolation. You looked at Joseph, sitting in a dark prison cell for 13 years for a crime he did not commit, helping the cupbearer get out, only to be completely forgotten for 2 more years. You looked at David. Before David ever picked up a stone to slay Goliath, he was sent to the battlefield by his father just to deliver bread and cheese to his older, ungrateful brothers. His oldest brother publicly mocked him and insulted his character. But David did not retaliate. He swallowed his pride. He served them anyway. He passed the wilderness test of humility and absolute sacrifice long before he was ever handed the crown. For the longest time, you believed that was your exact story. You believed this endless, agonizing season of carrying other people's heavy, toxic baggage was simply your wilderness test. God was stretching your capacity to love the unlovable. He was testing your faithfulness in the dark. He was seeing if you would remain a good, pure-hearted person in a world that has been nothing but vicious and cold to you. If that was the test, chosen one, I am here to declare to you right now that you passed. You stayed faithful when faithfulness made absolutely no logical sense. You kept your heart pure when you had every right to become bitter, cynical, closed off, and cold. You did not let the trauma turn you into a reflection of the people who hurt you. You passed the test of ultimate sacrifice. Do not move your physical body right now, but I want you to do something powerful in your mind. Mentally detach from the heavy guilt of feeling tired. Give yourself the internal, spiritual permission to stop carrying their weight for just this moment. In your mind's eye, I want you to visualize a heavy, rusted iron chain connecting your chest to the expectations of every single person who drains you. Now, in your spirit, I want you to see that chain shatter into 1,000 pieces. You are no longer bound to be their savior. To lock this spiritual release into the physical realm, I want you to go to the comments right now and type 2 words, chain broken. You passed the test of faithfulness, but here is what I have not told you yet. And what I am about to reveal to you is going to completely shatter how you view your entire journey up to this point. It is going to rewrite the entire narrative of your suffering. That was not a test of sacrifice. Loyalty, humility, and sacrifice were the cover story. That is what you thought was being tested. That is what it looked like on the surface. But while you were entirely focused on being the good, faithful servant, while you were focused on turning the other cheek and being the bigger person, the enemy was running a highly covert, highly destructive operation right under your nose. The enemy was not testing your goodness. The enemy was using those people, those sudden crises, those unexpected financial emergencies, and those incredibly toxic relationships for one singular, terrifying purpose. They were orchestrating a coordinated attack to drain your physical and mental battery to absolute zero. Why? Because the enemy does not care if you are a good person. The enemy does not care if you are kind, or sweet, or forgiving. What the enemy is absolutely terrified of is the dormant weapon locked inside your biology. And the kingdom of darkness knows a scientific and spiritual secret that you are just now waking up to. When you are constantly putting out fires for other people, when you are stressing about how to pay the unexpected bills, when you are dealing with endless family drama, and when your physical body is running on pure cortisol, your brain is forced to operate in a state of high alert. It is trapped in a low-level, survival mode frequency. It is a state of perpetual panic, defense, and anxiety. This is the matrix trap. As long as the enemy can keep your brain hijacked in that low-level survival frequency, the divine weapon hidden in your DNA remains completely frozen. You can see this exact spiritual sabotage in Luke chapter 10, in the story of Mary and Martha. Jesus enters their home, and Mary sits at his feet to absorb his frequency. But the scripture says, Martha was distracted with much serving. She was doing a good thing. She was being responsible. She was taking care of everyone else. But Jesus tells her, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things. The original Greek word used there for troubled is tirbazo. It literally means to be in a muddy, confused, turbulent state, like a pool of water being stirred up so heavily that it becomes entirely clouded. That is exactly what the enemy has been doing to you. They want your mind in a constant state of tirbazo, constant turbulence, because when a lake is turbulent and muddy, it cannot reflect the sky. And when your mind is trapped in a turbulent, exhausted survival state, it cannot reflect the frequency of heaven. They did not send those narcissistic people into your life to break your heart. They sent them to stir up your water. They sent them to keep you distracted. They did not send those sudden drops in income to make you poor. They sent them to keep you grounded strictly in the physical, survival realm. The modern matrix is a perfectly designed, flawlessly executed system of continuous exhaustion. The system, the news cycle, the engineered societal stress, it is all rigged to keep you so utterly tired by the time you lay your head on your pillow that you cannot even remember your own dreams, let alone access the supernatural realms you were born to rule. The enemy's strategy is death by 1,000 paper cuts. They are trying to freeze a specific high-tier frequency in your brain. As long as you are playing the exhausted savior for everyone else, your brain cannot shift gears into the higher, dormant frequencies where your true, devastating power lies. The enemy has been keeping you busy fighting exhausting ground wars with difficult human beings so that you never look up and realize you have access to an atmospheric, world-altering weapon. They want you believing that your power comes from how much pain you can endure. They want you believing that your tears and your sweat are your offering to God. But Archangel Michael is intervening today to tell you that you have been fighting on the wrong battlefield. You have been using human energy to fight a spiritual war, and it is killing you. They do not fear your prayers, because they know you are praying from a place of desperation and exhaustion. They fear your vibrational frequency. But what is that frequency? Why do 98% of humans born with it have it stolen when they grow up? And most importantly, what tool has Archangel Michael brought for you to reclaim it? The weapon Archangel Michael pointed to in that heavenly meeting is not a sword of iron, it is not a shield of wood. It is the biological and spiritual frequency of your own mind. The unseen realm is terrified of you because buried deep inside your DNA is the capacity to operate on the exact frequency of heaven. We are talking about specific, measurable brain waves. Science calls them theta and gamma waves. The ancient mystics knew them as the God frequency. When you are trapped in that endless cycle of putting out fires for other people, stressing over bills, and absorbing toxic family karma, your brain is locked in beta mode. Beta is the frequency of survival. It is the frequency of panic, logical limitation, and earthly gravity. But theta and gamma waves are the frequencies of miracles, deep intuition, and divine genius. When your brain operates in these higher waves, you do not have to beg God for answers, you simply download them. You become a walking, breathing disruption to the kingdom of darkness. But if this weapon is built into our biology, why do you feel so disconnected from it? Why does it feel like your mind is clouded with a heavy fog? Because there is a massive spiritual conspiracy playing out in the physical world right now. Studies show that 98% of children operate naturally in this genius frequency. Watch a child. They believe the impossible is entirely normal. They hear the voice of the Creator without effort. But then, the Matrix gets hold of them. The modern world was perfectly engineered to systematically shut down your God frequency. The rigid schooling systems, the constant blue light from glowing screens, the engineered financial stress, the toxic chemicals in our food, and the relentless 24-hour news cycle designed to keep you in a state of low-level fear. It is all a calculated operation to force your brain out of the miracle frequency and trap it permanently in the survival frequency. By the time you reach adulthood, the part of your brain that accesses unlimited spiritual power has quite literally shriveled up. The enemy stole your weapon by burying it under a mountain of modern exhaustion. This is why you feel that profound sense of alienation. You are a being designed for the God frequency, forced to live in a world operating on a dense, toxic survival frequency. Your spirit is violently rejecting the matrix, and that rejection manifests in your physical body as extreme exhaustion and brain fog. So how do we break the matrix? How do we bypass the exhaustion and get the weapon back online? I want you to think about the ancient prophets. Think about Elijah in the first book of Kings, chapter 19. Elijah was utterly exhausted, running for his life from Jezebel, operating in pure beta survival mode. He hid in a cave. God sent a great and strong wind that tore the mountains, but God was not in the wind. Then an earthquake, but God was not in the earthquake. Then a fire, but God was not in the fire. Finally, after the chaos subsided, there came a still, small voice. To hear that still, small voice, Elijah had to completely shut down his earthly survival frequency. For thousands of years, the only way to access this state was through extreme measures. Moses climbed a mountain and isolated himself. Jesus fasted in the wilderness for 40 days. They had to completely remove themselves from the noise of the world to tune their brain waves back to the frequency of heaven. But what if I told you there is an intersection between ancient prophetic revelation and modern aerospace science? NASA researchers conducted studies and discovered the exact scientific parameters of this genius state. A former NASA neuroscientist confirmed that this frequency is not magic, it is biology. Your brain still remembers this God frequency. It is not dead, it is simply dormant. And right now, heaven has provided a shortcut. You do not need to flee to a desert cave for 40 days to get your weapon back. There is a specific sound technology developed from this exact research, designed to completely bypass the matrix programming and directly reactivate your dormant brainwaves. It is called the Genius Wave. It is a simple 7-minute audio ritual. You do not need to practice complex meditation. You do not need to force yourself to focus when your mind is already exhausted. You simply put your headphones on, sit in your room, and let the technology retune your mind. The sound waves do the heavy lifting for you. They act as a spiritual tuning fork, matching the vibration of your brain to the vibration of divine intelligence. It strips away the interference and restores the frequency you were born with. Do not move a muscle right now. I want you to perform a profound mental action. In the quiet space of your imagination, visualize a heavy, rusted radio dial inside your mind. For years, it has been stuck on a station playing nothing but harsh, static anxiety and the demands of other people. Mentally reach out, grip that dial, and turn it. Visualize the static fading away, replaced by a pure, crystal-clear, resonant tone that fills your entire body with light. If you can hear that silence in your spirit right now, go to the comments and simply type "tuned in." You now know how to tune in and activate this weapon with a simple 7-minute ritual every day. You have the access key. But possessing a devastating spiritual weapon becomes completely meaningless if you constantly leak that divine energy out to the wrong people. The enemy knows they cannot stop you from activating the frequency, so their next strategy is to make you spill it. Tomorrow morning, the moment you take your headphones off and step out of that 7-minute activation, you must immediately apply this absolute life or death rule. Tomorrow morning, the moment you take your headphones off and step out of that 7-minute activation, you are carrying a highly charged, extremely delicate spiritual commodity. You have just shifted your brain out of the survival matrix and into the God frequency. Your theta and gamma waves are radiating outward. In the spiritual realm, you light up like a beacon in the dark. But possessing this frequency is only the first step. The true mastery of the Chosen One lies in knowing how to protect it. I need you to understand exactly why impulsive words, the sudden urge to explain yourself, or the desire to share your new revelations can instantly shatter the miracle frequency you just created. Why is it that the moment you feel a breakthrough coming, the moment you get a brilliant idea or a sudden sense of peace, you feel an overwhelming urge to text someone about it? You want to post it. You want to tell your family. You want validation. But the second you speak it out loud to the wrong person, what happens? You feel a sudden drain in your chest. The excitement vanishes. The brain fog rolls right back in, and your mind crashes violently back into the chaotic beta survival state. Why does that happen? I am going to explain the spiritual physics behind this energy leak, but first, you need to hear about what happens when you actually hold the line. There is a Chosen One who recently discovered this exact frequency activation. For years, they had been trapped in severe financial stagnation and toxic workplace environments. They began the daily tuning process. They stopped fighting the physical battles and started shifting their brain waves. Within weeks, the atmosphere around them changed. A highly lucrative, 6-figure contract opportunity seemingly fell out of the sky into their lap. It was the exact breakthrough they had been crying out for. But almost immediately, the matrix tested them. An old, incredibly toxic colleague reached out, trying to bait them into an argument, trying to pull them back into the mud of their old dynamic. At the same time, the overwhelming temptation to brag, to prove to everyone who had doubted them that they were finally winning, almost consumed them. If they had spoken prematurely, if they had engaged the toxic bait, or bragged about the unfinalized contract, they would have aborted the entire miracle. I will tell you exactly how they navigated this and what happened to that massive contract in just a moment. But to understand how they survived that test, you must understand the weapon of strategic silence. Silence is not just the absence of speech. Strategic silence is a high-level spiritual containment field. Words are containers of power. When you speak your raw, unformed manifestations into the atmosphere of people who are operating on a low, survival frequency, Their dense energy attacks your high frequency. You are basically handing over your spiritual ammunition to the enemy. This brings us to the ultimate frequency shield, which is the three-circle rule. Jesus gave us the foundational blueprint for this shield in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 6. He gave a very severe warning: do not give dogs what is sacred, and do not throw your pearls to pigs. For centuries, people have read this and thought Jesus was just insulting people. But let us look at the deeper context of what he actually said. He warned that if you throw your pearls to pigs, they will trample them under their feet, and then they will turn and tear you to pieces. This answers exactly why your impulsive words destroy your frequency. Your dreams, your divine downloads, your newly activated theta waves, those are your pearls. When you share them with people who are trapped in the matrix, people who are entirely ruled by fear, jealousy, and survival mode, they do not have the spiritual capacity to value your pearls. They cannot comprehend your frequency. So what do? They trample your dreams with their logic. They tell you to be realistic. They project their own limitations onto you. But it does not stop there. The dense, demonic forces operating through their unhealed trauma will literally turn and attack your peace. They will tear you to pieces emotionally until you agree with their lower frequency. That is how the energy leak happens. That is how your brain gets hijacked back into beta. To stop this permanently, you must build the three-circle rule around your life, starting today. Circle 1 is the inner sanctum. This circle contains only two entities, you and the Creator. This is where your unformed dreams, your deepest fears, and your daily activation take place. No human being is allowed in Circle 1. Not your spouse, not your mother, not your best friend. This is the womb of your destiny. Circle 2 is the council. This circle contains one, maybe two, highly vetted, spiritually mature allies. These are people who operate on the same or higher frequency than you. They do not compete with you. When you bring an idea to Circle 2, they do not tell you it is impossible. They pray into it to multiply its power. Circle 3 is the world. This is everyone else. Your extended family, your co-workers, your social media followers. Listen to me very carefully, chosen one. Circle 3 only ever gets to see the results. They never get to see the process. You never announce what you are going to do to Circle 3. You only let them see what has already been done. I want you to perform a mental action right now to seal this into your reality. Close out the physical distractions around you. In the theater of your mind, visualize yourself standing in the center of 3 glowing, impenetrable rings of light. See your most precious, fragile dream glowing right in the center of your chest, locked safely inside the first circle. Watch as the harsh words and doubts of the outside world hit the outermost ring and instantly disintegrate into ash. They cannot touch you. To lock this boundary into the spiritual realm, go to the comments right now and declare 2 words: sealed permanently. This brings us back to the chosen one who was tested with the 6-figure contract. Because they had established the 3-circle rule, they realized the toxic co-worker was operating in Circle 3. So they applied strategic silence. They did not respond to the bait. They left the message unread. Furthermore, they refused to tell their family or their peers about the contract while it was still being negotiated. They kept the pearl securely locked in Circle 1. Because they did not leak the energy, the frequency held. The contract was signed, the funds cleared, and their entire generational trajectory was altered in a single afternoon. That is the devastating power of a protected frequency. You now know how to build a shield and use the 3-circle rule to protect your frequency from the enemies outside your door. But Archangel Michael is issuing a severe warning. The most dangerous enemy right now is not standing outside your circles. The most dangerous enemy is already inside, whispering quietly in your own mind. There is an invisible, deeply rooted fear of your own power that is trying to sabotage you from the inside out. You have spent your entire life believing that your greatest fear was failure. You thought you were afraid of not making it, of being rejected, or of never reaching your destiny. But as you stand here now, holding the access key to the God frequency and the three-circle rule, a very different, very ugly truth is surfacing in your spirit. I am going to say the quiet part out loud, the exact thought you have been trying to push down. You are not afraid of failure. You are absolutely terrified of your own power. When you think about fully activating this weapon, when you think about strictly enforcing those boundaries and cutting off the energy vampires, a cold panic grips your stomach. The whisper in your mind says, if I actually step into this authority, if I stop being the bleeding savior for everyone else, who is going to be left? If I vibrate at this high frequency, I am going to outgrow my friends. I am going to outgrow my family. I will be completely, utterly alone. You carry a deep, hidden guilt about leaving people behind in the matrix. You secretly wonder if it is selfish to step into your power while the people you love are still drowning in their survival frequency. This is the shadow side of the chosen one. It is the raw, uncomfortable truth that you sometimes prefer the familiar pain of being used over the intimidating isolation of being a king or a queen. It is easier to be the victim of other people's low frequencies because it means you still belong to the group. To wield the weapon Archangel Michael is handing you means you have to finally accept that you are fundamentally different and you can never go back to pretending to be normal. This fear of your own calling is a heavy, paralyzing weight. It is the reason you start your 7-minute activation, you feel the breakthrough coming, and then you suddenly self-sabotage. You pick a fight, you break a boundary, or you fall back into old habits just to ground yourself back in the familiar mess of the beta frequency. You are dimming your own light because you are afraid of blinding the people around you. But I want you to look at the people in the world who actively chase power. Look at the narcissists, the manipulators, and the false leaders. Notice one specific thing about them. They never lose sleep over who they might hurt. They never worry about the moral weight of their authority. They crave power precisely because they want to dominate others, and they have absolutely zero fear of it. And because they lack that fear, the power ultimately corrupts and destroys them. If you look at the book of Exodus chapter 3, you will see this exact dynamic playing out when God calls Moses from the burning bush. God tells Moses he is the one chosen to bring down the entire empire of Egypt. And what is Moses's immediate reaction? He does not celebrate. He panics. He starts making excuses. He says, "Who am I that I should go? I am not eloquent. They will not believe me. Please send someone else." Moses was absolutely terrified of the calling because he knew that accepting it meant he could never go back to his quiet, comfortable life as a shepherd. He knew it meant confronting the very people he grew up with. God did not choose Pharaoh, who lusted for power. God chose Moses, who was terrified of it. Your fear is not a sign of weakness. Your fear is a divine filter. It is the exact proof that heaven can trust you with this atmospheric weapon. You are afraid of the isolation and the responsibility because your spirit understands the devastating gravity of what you are about to carry. The Creator could never hand the God frequency to someone who takes it lightly. The fact that you tremble at the weight of this calling is the very reason you are the only one qualified to wield it. You must stop apologizing for the fact that you are outgrowing the matrix. You cannot save people by jumping back into the mud with them. The only way you can truly help anyone is by standing fully in your power, vibrating at the highest possible frequency and throwing down a ladder. If they choose not to climb it, that is their karma, not your burden. I want you to perform a vital mental action right now to break this final chain of self-sabotage. Close out the physical distractions around you. In your mind, visualize yourself wearing a heavy, suffocating cloak made of the opinions, the expectations, and the comfort of everyone you have been trying to please. Take a deep, intentional breath in, and as you exhale, see that heavy cloak drop to the floor. Step out of it. Feel the cold, sharp, brilliant air of your true authority hit your skin. You are no longer apologizing for your greatness. Go to the comments right now and declare your acceptance by typing, "I accept the weight." The moment you accept this truth, the shadow is conquered, the self-sabotage ends, your frequency is now fully activated and completely unhindered. But you must listen to me very carefully. The exact second your spiritual radar lights up with this pure theta and gamma energy, the alarm sirens of hell also go off. You have just declared yourself a massive threat to the kingdom of darkness, and the enemy is not going to sit still. In the next 40 days, they are going to deploy a highly specific, utterly ruthless counterattack. They will use 7 distinct forms of confrontation to try and knock you off your frequency. The first form of confrontation you will face is the financial trap. This usually happens right after you decide to elevate your frequency. Out of nowhere, an opportunity to make quick money will appear, but it will require you to compromise your boundaries, overwork your physical body, or reconnect with toxic people. The enemy uses this attack because they know survival mode is tethered to your bank account. They want to trigger your fear of poverty so you abandon your new frequency and run back to the beta state of panic. To win this, you must recognize it as a counterfeit blessing. You must look at that shiny distraction and say no. You protect your frequency over the quick cash, knowing that true abundance only flows when your brainwaves are aligned with heaven. The second form of confrontation is the relationship test. You know exactly what this looks like. You finally establish peace in your life. You are doing your 7-minute activation. Your mind is clear. And suddenly, your phone vibrates. It is a text message from a toxic ex, an estranged family member, or an old friend who drained you for years. They come back with a crisis, a sob story, or an apology that sounds just genuine enough to make your stomach drop and your heart race. Why do they attack now? Because the demonic realm uses them as an energy siphon. They are sent to plug back into your aura and drain the fresh theta and gamma waves you just generated. To win this, you must use the weapon of strategic silence. You do not explain yourself. You do not try to save them. You utilize the block button and you keep your peace absolutely sealed. The third form is the comparison whirlwind. You will open social media, and suddenly the algorithm will show you perfectly curated images of people your exact age getting married, buying massive houses, or achieving the exact dream you have been praying for. A heavy, sickening feeling will hit your chest. A voice will whisper that you are too late, that you have missed your window, and that your life is a failure. This is a highly calculated psychological attack designed to induce a feeling of being left behind, which immediately crashes your frequency. To win this, you must understand that your timeline is prophetic, not linear. You are not operating on the Matrix timeline. Disconnect from their highlight reels and refuse to agree with the illusion of delay. The fourth form of confrontation is the midnight doubt assault. It is 2 a.m. You wake up with a jolt. The room is quiet, but your mind is incredibly loud. A heavy, oppressive thought sits on your chest, telling you that you are making all of this up. It tells you that you are not chosen, you are just crazy, and your dreams of breaking generational curses are delusions of grandeur. The enemy launches this attack in the middle of the night because your physical defenses are down. They want to attack your core identity before the physical breakthrough manifests. To win this, you do not argue with the thoughts. You do not try to logically debate the darkness. You simply dismiss it, roll over, and refuse to engage. The fifth form is the distraction avalanche. This is when minor inconveniences pile up with terrifying precision. In the span of 48 hours, your car battery dies, a pipe leaks in your house, you get an unexpected bill, and you spill coffee on your computer. It feels like the universe is falling apart. But this is not bad luck. This is an avalanche designed to exhaust your physical body so completely that you decide to skip your daily activation ritual. They want you so focused on the leaking pipe that you forget you are a spiritual being. To win this, you do your 7-minute ritual anyway. You sit in the middle of the chaos, you put your headphones on, and you maintain your frequency while the storm rages around you. The sixth form is the counterfeit mentor or the false prophet. Someone will enter your life presenting themselves as a spiritual guide, a business mentor, or a divine connection. They will say all the right words, but they will subtly demand your constant attention, your unquestioning compliance, and your energy. They want to infiltrate your inner circle, to subtly hijack your frequency and steer you off course. To win this, you must trust your somatic radar. If they sound holy but your stomach ties in knots when they text you, if you feel drained after speaking to them, cut the tie. Your body recognizes a demonic assignment long before your logical brain does. The seventh form is premature celebration. You get a small win. An email confirms a meeting. A small sum of money arrives. An opportunity presents itself. The immediate burning temptation is to take a screenshot and broadcast it to the entire world before the ink is even dry. The enemy pushes you to do this because they want you to throw your pearls to the pigs. They want you to leak the energy of the miracle into the atmosphere of jealous, low-frequency people before the blessing is fully anchored in the physical realm. To win this, you stay completely silent until the manifestation is solidified. You let the results speak for themselves. Listen to how this played out for a chosen one who recently faced the relationship test. They had just committed to retuning their brainwaves. For 3 days, they held their frequency. On the 4th day, an extremely toxic ex reached out with a massive crisis, begging for their help. The chosen one felt the old familiar pull to become the savior. Their chest tightened, but instead of replying, they stopped. They recognized the energy siphon. They held their peace, deleted the message, and went back to their activation ritual. Because they did not abort the miracle by leaking their energy, the frequency remained intact. Less than 48 hours later, a massive career shift they had been waiting months for finally broke through. The enemy tried to distract them right at the finish line, but they held the shield. I want you to prepare yourself mentally right now. I do not want you to move your body, but in the realm of your spirit, I want you to visualize yourself standing in the center of a chaotic storm. See these 7 forms of attack as dark, heavy arrows flying toward you from every direction. Now, visualize a brilliant, impenetrable dome of light erupting from your chest and surrounding your entire body. Watch as every single arrow hits that dome and instantly shatters into dust. You are untouchable. Go to the comments right now and lock this defense into place by typing "Shield activated." You now hold the enemy's complete playbook in your hands. You know exactly what they will try to do, and you know how to survive every single one of these 7 strikes. You can survive the financial traps, the X's, the doubts, and the chaos. But Archangel Michael did not intercept your timeline today just to teach you how to survive. Surviving is the mindset of a victim who is just trying to make it through the day. You were not placed on this earth to merely survive the matrix. You were called to completely defeat it. Dodging arrows will keep you alive, but it will not win the war. How do you transition from constantly playing defense, constantly shielding yourself, and constantly hiding your frequency, to stepping into the position of a commanding king or queen? How do you stop begging the darkness to leave you alone and start issuing the absolute decrees that make the darkness flee in terror? You have survived the exhaustion. You have recognized the matrix trap. You have been given the access key to the God frequency, and you know exactly how to shield yourself from the 7 forms of attack. But surviving the darkness is not your ultimate calling. Surviving is the mindset of a victim who is just relieved to make it through another day. You were not placed on this earth to merely survive the enemy. You were called to completely dominate the atmosphere around you. The time has come to shift from playing defense to playing offense. To do this, you must understand the profound difference between begging for a miracle and issuing an absolute decree. For your entire life, traditional religion and the Matrix have taught you how to beg. They taught you to approach the Creator from a position of absolute powerlessness. When the pressure gets heavy, when the bills pile up, when the relationships fracture, you drop to your knees in a state of sheer panic, and you plead, "Please God, take this pain away. Please make them stop. Please send provision." You are praying from a low-level, beta wave survival frequency. You are praying from a place of fear, not a place of identity. And the enemy loves it when you beg, because a begging chosen one is a chosen one who has forgotten their royal bloodline. When your brain is tuned to the theta and gamma frequencies, when you are utilizing that 7-minute activation ritual to step out of the matrix, you no longer beg, you decree. Look at the perfect example of this in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 4. Jesus and his disciples are in a boat, and a massive violent storm hits the water. The boat is filling with water. The disciples are operating in pure beta wave panic. They are terrified. They wake Jesus up and they beg him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" They are begging for survival. But look at what Jesus does. He does not get down on his knees and beg the Father to stop the wind. He does not ask for permission for the storm to end. He stands up, operating in perfect, unbroken God frequency, and he speaks directly to the elements. He issues an absolute decree. "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. He did not ask, he commanded. This is the secret of the absolute decree. When you are aligned with the frequency of heaven, your words stop being requests, and they become spiritual legislation. You do not ask the darkness to kindly leave your home. You decree that your home is a sanctuary, and you command the darkness to flee. You do not beg for financial survival. You decree that you are the head and not the tail, and you command the resources of the earth to align with your divine purpose. I want you to perform a powerful mental shift right now. Close your eyes to the physical world for a moment. In the architecture of your mind, I want you to look at how you have been positioning yourself. You have been mentally crouching in the corner of your own spiritual house, shielding your face, hoping the storm passes. Stop crouching. In your imagination, stand up straight. See a heavy, golden throne sitting empty in the center of your mind. That is your seat of authority. Walk up to it and sit down. Feel the absolute weight of your royal identity settle into your bones. You are no longer a victim of circumstance. Go to the comments right now and lock this new posture into reality by typing 2 words. I decree. Now that you have taken your seat of authority, you must understand the prophetic timeline you are currently walking through. The shifts you are about to experience do not happen randomly. They follow a specific spiritual mapping. In the biblical texts, the number 40 is never just a random measurement of time. It is the exact biological and spiritual cycle required for complete transformation. The rain fell on Noah for 40 days to wash away the old world. Moses was on the mountain for 40 days to receive the new law. Jesus was in the wilderness for 40 days to overcome the matrix before starting his ministry. Starting tomorrow morning, when you begin your daily frequency activation, you are entering your own 40-day timeline. During the first 10 days, you will experience a spiritual detox. This is when the exhaustion might actually feel a little heavier as your physical body purges the cortisol and the trauma it has been storing for years. You must not quit during the detox. Days 11 through 30 are the confrontation phase. This is exactly when the 7 attacks we just discussed will hit. The toxic ex will text you. The unexpected bill will arrive. The doubt will scream in your ear at 2 in the morning. This happens because the enemy realizes your frequency is rising and they are desperately trying to drag you back down. But you will hold your shield. You will maintain your strategic silence. Then comes day 31 to 40. the breakthrough phase. The air around you will suddenly feel incredibly light. The things you decreed will begin to manifest in the physical realm. Opportunities will unlock without you having to force them. But this is where you face the final, most dangerous trap, the trap of premature celebration. Let me tell you about a chosen one who recently walked this exact timeline. They were facing a devastating housing crisis, on the verge of losing everything. They started their daily audio activation. They fought through the detox. They fought through the relationship tests and the financial panic. On day 35, an impossible door opened. They were approved for a stunning new home, far better than anything they had imagined. The immediate burning desire was to call everyone they knew, to post it online, to finally prove to their toxic family members that they were succeeding. But they remembered the final warning. They realized the ink was not yet dry on the contract. The pearl was still fragile. So they clamped their mouth shut. They held their absolute silence. 2 days later, a massive clerical error occurred at the bank. The approval was suddenly flagged and almost denied. If they had leaked their energy by bragging, if they had thrown their pearls to the pigs, they would not have had the spiritual strength left to fight that final battle. But because they preserved their frequency, they simply sat in the quiet, issued a decree of completion over the paperwork, and watched as the error was miraculously reversed the very next morning. They secured the blessing because they mastered their timeline and kept their mouth shut. Do you see the grand design now? Do you see how all the pieces fit together? When you use the sound technology to pull your brain out of survival mode and into the God frequency, you generate the power. When you apply the 3-circle rule and strategic silence, you protect the power from leaking out. And when you open your mouth to issue an absolute decree, you aim that power directly at your reality to reshape your world. You have become completely unstoppable. All the weapons have been laid out before you. The frequency has been delivered. The defense framework has been built. The timeline has been mapped. But in the spiritual realm, having the weapon is not enough. No divine weapon is legally permitted to be activated in your life without a formal sealing ceremony. You cannot just listen to this information and walk away. It must be locked into your spirit. Prepare your mind, steady your breathing, and brace yourself, because the exact moment of your transfer of power begins right now. Every lie you have been told about your exhaustion ends today. You are not a victim of your own empathy. You are a highly armed spiritual operative who has finally remembered how to access their arsenal. We have exposed the matrix trap that kept your brain in survival mode. We have pulled the veil back on the God frequency hiding in your DNA. We have built the impenetrable shield of the 3-circle rule around your peace. And we have exposed the enemy's 7 desperate attempts to knock you off your throne. The pieces are all on the board. The weapon is loaded. But a weapon left on the table cannot win a war. It must be picked up. It must be permanently sealed to your identity. Do not bow your head right now like a defeated victim. In the realm of your mind, I want you to stand up tall, uncross your mental arms, lift your spiritual chin. This is not a bedside prayer of desperation. This is a military commissioning. In the supreme authority of Yeshua, the King of Kings, I declare this atmosphere secured. The jurisdiction of the Matrix is formally revoked over your timeline. Heaven is acting on this word right now. Father, I thank you for this chosen one. You saw them sitting in that car with the engine off, dreading having to walk inside. You felt the heavy, suffocating pressure on their chest. You watched them carry the toxic burdens of ungrateful people until their bones ached. You saw their silent tears in the dark. Honor their endurance in the wilderness. Honor the fact that they kept their heart pure when they had every right to turn cold and bitter. Right now, I seal the weapon of strategic silence into their spirit. I seal the 3-circle rule permanently around their life, protecting their pearls from the pigs. I bind the spirit of exhaustion, the spirit of heavy brain fog, and the demonic matrix manipulation that has tried to keep their mind trapped in endless panic. And Father, I seal this activation frequency into their daily ritual. As they use this sound technology to tune their brain waves back to your original design, let the theta and gamma waves unlock divine downloads. Let the interference of the modern world be completely stripped away from their mind. I decree that as you explore this sound technology and begin your 7-minute activation ritual tomorrow morning, the blindfolds of the matrix will completely disintegrate. I declare that over the next 40 days, doors will open that no human logic can explain. The 7 forms of confrontation will bounce off your frequency dome and turn into ash. You will no longer beg for survival. You will decree your reality, and the earth will respond to your vibration. Heaven is asking you a direct question right now. Will you carry this weapon with honor? Will you stop playing small to make low-frequency people comfortable? In the quiet sanctuary of your mind, let your spirit scream yes. The courts of heaven have recorded your yes. You are dismissed from the waiting room. Walk in your authority, in Yeshua's name. Don't say Amen yet. Sit in this frequency for 60 seconds. Let the weapon awaken.